have with me today my first guest, Tuvia Tenenbom. Tuvia is the founder and director of the Jewish Theater of New York, among other things, but more precisely is the correspondent for Die Zeit, the German magazine, and the Zeit Online, and the Jewish Forward. But for our purpose here, and why it's so important, is that he is the author of a, just published today in Hebrew, a new book called Catch the Jew. And what is so special about this meeting with Tuvia is the fact that Tuvia speaks fluent German, English, Hebrew, and Arabic. And Tuvia, as a journalist, traveled in Judea and Samaria. And in the past few weeks, we have experienced coverage of the Arab-Israeli conflict. And there was a lot of criticism leveled at the Western media. I was director of the government press office for 10 years, worked with the foreign media here for 20 years altogether, and had a lot of complaints about the way they handled themselves. Like I said, they didn't uphold professional standards. And I was always accused of being critical, unnecessarily critical of the media. But Tuvia took it one step forward. He went as a journalist. And in his book, this expose, he reveals what the culture, I guess that's the best way to describe it, of what is happening among journalists in this whole industry of support of the Palestinians with media, international organizations, international companies, and the Palestinians themselves. But instead of explaining this, I think the best thing is to go to Tuvia yourself. Tuvia, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Tuvia's here with his lovely wife, Isa, and Izzy, sorry. And please give us your own words.
In my own words, thank you. It started very simple. There was a book that I wrote, I worked on it with my wife. It's called I Sleep in Hitler's Room, which was published in Israel about 2 months ago, I'm sorry. And it was published by a company called Surkamp Verlag, which is in Berlin. It's one of the probably the most eyebrow book publishing company in Germany. And the book was called there Allein unter Deutschen, meaning alone among Germans.
So you've already done this before.
So we did about the Germans, the same thing, going for 6 months, talking to people from Helmut Schmidt all the way down. In English, it's called I Sleep in Hitler's Room. And the book became a bestseller, Der Spiegel bestseller for 16 weeks. And the book discovered the horrible, blatant, often denied anti-Semitism in German society today. And so they asked me a year ago, they asked me, Surkamp, can you go again to do the same thing in Israel?
The publishers.
The publisher, yeah.
They like
to
the
do
idea.
something, to do, like in a series, Allein unter Juden, alone among Jews, in their series, because you own some books like this. So I said, yes, of course. We went with my lovely wife, and we came to Israel in the midst of last year, in June 2nd of last year, of 2013. I was born in Israel. I left Israel 34 years ago, and it was interesting to see what kind of Israel I'll find. I thought for myself that it was going to be much easier than doing the same thing in Germany, going and traveling east to west, north and south, talk to everybody who wants to talk to everybody who doesn't want to talk, and every socio-economic, every social, every whatever level, every age, every gender, as we say today. And that's basically what it was.
You have a very disarming personality.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure a lot of people opened up to you.
And people open up, yeah. People open up. If you treat your, and this I think the theater part helps, that you learn that nobody is bad. The villain actually is the best. It's the most interesting, right, in theater. And you look at people like character, and you try to also separate between what the people think and the people. So you befriend the people. It's very disarming method, but also reality of life for people. If you like the people you interview, no matter what, no matter who, they open up. And so, spending here over 6 months, almost 7 months, doing this every day, 7 days a week, 14-hour days, and then transcribing at night. It was very hard, but very satisfying as a writer. And the people interviewed in the book, who came out in the book at the end, are Jews and Palestinians, on both sides, both elements. in every part of the land I could reach. So you have here, you have Zeev Elkin, you have Hanan Ashrawi, you have Ayelet Shaked, you have Ahmad Tibi, you have kids, you have everybody,
all sides of the political spectrum.
One of the most interesting things that I found, when I came in, I thought that there is a conflict here between Jew and Arab. Then I found out there is another personality here that we, for some reason, ignore. It's called the European. It's called the world of NGO.
The NGO world, the non-governmental organizations. Well, hold on to that thought because we have to pause for station identification, and we'll be right back. You're listening to The Voice of Israel. I'm Daniel Seaman in the Weekend Review. I'm here with Tuvia Tenenbom, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
This is the Voice of Israel. Voice of Israel.
We're back now. I'm Daniel Seaman in Weekend Review here on the Voice of Israel. My guest is Tuvia Tenenbom, who's just published a book. He did an expose, an undercover, and where he thought we finished the first part when you were describing what you were expecting to get, and you ended up getting something altogether different. Instead of the Arab-Israeli conflict, you had an Israeli NGO conflict, if I'm accurate.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. You see here a lot of Europeans, you see here, first of all, there's a lot of money here coming to the NGO world. Even the NGO and Israelis NGO. You know, B'Tselem, Rabbis for Human Rights, etc., etc., etc. A lot of money is coming in.
From European countries?
From European countries and also from America.
So from the United States?
The United States. The difference between European money is usually government money, it means tax money. You know, and American money is usually like NIF, you know, New Israel Fund is more like private sources because American government is not paying for these kind of things. But in general, you know, you see a lot of NGOs, a lot of NGO money, and also a lot of Europeans. If in my time, 33 years ago, the Europeans who came here are the ones who wanted to bathe in Elat, you know, the Europeans who come here today, the young ones, are coming in to check and to catch a Jew doing wrong. That's one. And number two is to implant hatred in the heart of the Palestinians to the Jew. And it's just amazing how it works.
These same people who are with these non-governmental organizations that are supposed to expose or care about human rights issues, in a sense, are not doing that. They're doing something completely different. You're saying?
They're saying something very sinister and very opposite than human rights. Very, very sinister. They believe to the core of their being that the Jews are bad. That's what it is by the end of the day. When you come in, not as an Israeli journalist, but as a German journalist, and you write for the Zeit, which is center-left, and you tell them, my name is Toby. Toby the German, that's the way I was known here. Not Tuvia, no family name, it's Toby the German. Toby min Almania, you know, Toby from Germany. And all of a sudden, it's a different way. And what I found out here is like amazing. There is this organization, EAPPI, which is a church organization, for example. It does horrible things here. It sends young people with all kinds of machinery to catch an Israeli soldier or a settler or whatever they call it, you know, to catch them doing something wrong.
Are they just trying to catch them, or are they in any way provoking them?
They provoke also, of course. They do everything. Then they edit everything. You go to a Bedouin guy, you know, and he sings all these kind of songs in English. He hardly speaks English, and he says, "We planted our trees," and then the Jews came out like, "What?
He was taught you that? Exactly.
He was taught. I asked him, it's like, you know, you hardly speak English. All of a sudden, you are a composer. And then he's in the desert. What race is he talking about?
And
the people don't even know what.
And these are the Bedouin Arab citizens of Israel who have always been loyal. They have been actually manipulated by these organizations.
You have like Adala, you know, it's deals with Bedouins inside Israel. These are some of the most sinister places you can get. They are spreading lies one after the other. They are teaching people that even you talk about. Give you an example. You know, Yad Vashem. You know, it's the Holocaust Memorial Museum. And you have the EU, the European Union, actually, to be exact, the European Commission gives grants to an organization, an NGO, Italian organization, called the Casa della Pace. And they bring people here, visit the museum, and the idea is you bring this teenager a few days in Israel with the Jews, a few days in Palestine, with the Palestinians to see the Arabs, to see the two sides. Guess which two sides you see? On the Palestinian side, it's very simple. You know what you'll get. What do you get in Israeli? They find a guy named Itamar Shapira. who introduces himself as an ex-Jew.
This is the Israeli side.
This is the Israeli
supposed
side.
To be the balance.
Yeah, we are even-handed, you know. They know how to find their Jews. So we are even-handed. They go to the museum, and what does it talk about the museum? They talk about how this country was founded by the murder of innocent Palestinians.
Basically, the Arab narrative, the Palestinian narrative.
In the Yad Vashem, I mean, do whatever you want. In Yad Vashem alone, excuse me, a little respect. And then they say, and then they say, that's Europeans, you know. And then they find the Jew to do that, the ex-Jew, who tells them that Dr. Herzl died from a sexual transmitted disease, so you can put them down on
Herzl,
the way.
the founder of Zionism.
Exactly. And then he tells them, you know, preaching them for BDS, boycott, divestment sanctions. That's very important. That's the lesson from there. And then he also tells them that what you see in the museum from the Jewish side, you see the Holocaust, you have to understand this is not an objective, this is a subjective thing. So take it.
So we're going back, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you take an ex-Jew who incites the public, says that the Jewish narrative is wrong and malicious, that Jews spread through their founder had sexual disease. These are all components of the same type of pure anti-Semitism. Traditional
anti-Semitism. Like the Nazis said, Otto Weininger, the Jew, to tell them what the Jews are. Now they have, in modern times, they have Itamar Shapira, etc., you know, et al.
So this is these same Europeans who claim, they're against racism and they're against, and especially with anti-Semitism, while they're saying that officially, they are officially funding these kind of activities which encourage anti-Semitism.
Exactly. And this is not all. Take an example, the Red Cross, ICRC, International Red Cross Red Crescent. I always thought that they are the nicest people on earth.
Right.
Helping people in times of need, in times of war, you know, beautiful, clean-cut Swiss,
yes.
you know,
objective,
you know, nice vans with little red crosses, everything is sweet. But we went with them for one day to Jenin, to a Jenin refugee camp, and we see what they teach them there.
They the Red Cross.
They the Red Cross, and what they encourage. Because you see it, you see anti-Semitic book in the school of UNRWA, which the Red Cross is helping on that particular day to paint or whatever, because you work together. And then you see the people that the Red Cross introduces you to Palestinians who are refugees from Haifa. They tell them basically that the occupation is not 67 but 48. And I even have
the entire state of Israel.
Yeah, exactly. And I even have a letter, an email from the Red Cross saying, basically, I'll paraphrase this because I don't have it verbatim in the moment, but paraphrase it, that all countries in the world are in observance of Geneva Conventions, of IHL, International Human Rights Law, with one exception, namely Israel. So according to the Red Cross, Bashar Assad, Muammar Gaddafi, all of them are perfect righteous people. Except, I mean, what else do you want? This is anti-Semitism pure. And they are the ones encouraged. Go to what some call occupied lands, some called not occupied lands, whatever, Judea, Samaria, West Bank, whatever you call it. But in reality, what we called A area, you know, Ramallah, Nablus, all these places, this is already Palestine, de facto. It doesn't matter what de jure. And you go there and say, Dolat Palestine. They call it already State of Palestine. There is not one Jew, it's Judenfrei, not one Jew there. And the Europeans are building palaces there for them. Give them tons of money. You see beautiful houses. These houses was donated by, we're not talking about public houses, we're talking private houses. This house was donated by Sweden. This house was donated by Germany. This is by Italy. This is by Catalonia. All of a sudden, it's like building houses. Even you go to Arichat, to Jericho, the map of the city, the Palestinians didn't print it. Japan printed it.
So the international community is, in a sense, providing and funding these activities, and a lot of the activities is anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
You're listening to Voice of Israel Weekend Review. I'm Daniel Seaman. My guest here is Tuvia Tenenbom with his expose, Catch the Jew, a book of him going undercover and exposing the industry, the anti-Israeli industry in the Palestinian areas. Tuvia, I want to thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed that video, click on the link below to go to the website and hear more Voices of Israel.